Welcome to Keep It Sunny's 31 Days of Halloween.
Welcome to day one of Keep It Sunny. Spooky 31 days of Halloween. So today we're going to be making some creepy caramel apples, some spooky jars, and some glittery branches. So if you guys want to see how we're going to make these things, then keep watching. Don't get scared.
Boo.
So the first thing you're going to want to do is to take your apples, and if they have stems, you're going to want to remove the stem. You can do this really easily simply by pulling and twisting on the stem. Now that you have all of your apples destemmed, you're going to take your wooden candy apple sticks and you're going to firmly press into each apple. You might want to push it against the counter and not hold it in your hand because sometimes they can be a little tricky. If your sticks go in a little crooked, you can always straighten them up after they're already in there. They have a little give. And don't forget to pick up your apple and test and make sure that it's not going to fall off when you dip it into the caramel. Next, you're going to boil some water in the microwave. Then you're going to take your apples that are on the sticks and dip them in the hot water and twirl them around. This is to remove any excess wax that are on your apples. If you have too much wax on the apples, the caramel will slide right off and you'll have a hard time getting it to stick properly. And then you can just set your apples somewhere to dry. So our next step is to get out our wax paper and lay a sheet on the counter and generously coat it with about 1 tablespoon of butter. You want to make sure that the entire sheet is going to be covered anywhere the apples are going to touch, because the caramel will stick to the wax paper and then you're going to possibly ruin your apples trying to remove them from the wax paper after they are cold. So be very generous with the butter. Now we're going to take a small deep pot and we're going to add 2 cups of brown sugar. Next, we're going to take our 2 sticks of butter and we're going to just drop them into the pot. Now we're going to add 1 cup of our light corn syrup. Next, you're going to take 1 14-ounce can of sweetened condensed milk and add it to your mixture. And the last ingredient will be 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. And then you can move your pot over to the stove. Now before we turn on the stove and start cooking, we want to make sure that we get our food coloring bowls ready, because once the caramel is cooked, we want to work with it very quickly before it has a chance to harden. So I have 3 bowls, 1 for the black, 1 for the purple, and 1 for the blue. I'm just going to put a little bit of food coloring in the bottom of each bowl so that when I'm done with the caramel, it's already ready to go. I'm also giving each one its own separate stirring spoon so that we don't mix our colors. Now you're going to turn your stove to a medium heat and you're going to keep stirring and keep cooking it until it reaches 245 degrees. Now, remember, don't leave your caramel on the stove. You must stir constantly. I made the mistake of walking away to fix the camera and I burned a little bit of my caramel. So those are those little flecks that you see in our caramel. It still tasted fine. Sometimes it can taste burnt if you do this, so make sure you do not leave your caramel unattended. Keep stirring the entire time until it reaches the right temperature. You can see how I have a bowl of ice next to the pot. This is an old-fashioned and tried and true way to test the texture of your caramel if you don't have a candy thermometer. You can simply get a bowl of ice water, and if you think your caramel is almost done, you can drop a little bit into the ice water, leave it for a few seconds, and then scoop it out with a spoon and you'll be able to see what texture it's going to be when it is cooled. So if you want it firmer, you want to cook it to a higher temperature. However, once it's already firmed up, there's no way to unfirm it. So it's best to start with a softer caramel because Once it hardens, you can't go backwards. Now I'm just stirring in the food coloring. As you can see, it kind of covered up all the little burnt flakes. Again, please don't forget to stir your caramel on the stove. We've got the black, which kind of came out more of a gray, but that's okay. We have our purple and our royal blue. Now we're going to add all of the colored caramels into a mixing bowl. Now, as tempting as it is to stir the caramel at this point, don't stir it. You want all the colors to still stay separated so that you see the little variations on your apples. Now you're simply going to take your caramel apples on your sticks, dip it into the caramel, and twist your apple in a clockwise motion until it's totally covered. I like to hold it over the bowl for a few seconds and keep twisting it just to make sure all of the caramel has dripped off so we don't get any excess on our wax paper. Now just keep dipping your apples until they are all covered. So the next step is completely optional. I have some cake decorating glitter. It is non-toxic and safe for food. However, it is not considered technically edible, which means it is not made of food. It is artificially made. So some people don't like to put it on their food because of that, but again, it's non-toxic. So I went ahead and just used it. I really liked the glittery, spooky effect that it gave the apples. Again, it's an optional ingredient. And this is it. These are how they came out. They have a beautiful shine to them. The glitter catches the light, and they taste absolutely delicious. So next up, we're going to be doing a glitter branches and spooky jar craft. So some things you're going to need are some branches. You can either get some dead branches you maybe have lying outside in the fall, or you can find a living branch, that'll work too. You're also going to need a hot glue gun, some paint of your choice. You can choose any color you want to do these branches. I chose to make them black, but you could do them white, purple, orange, whatever you want. And then we also need some paintbrushes and some glitter, and also some craft glue or Elmer's glue. So the first thing we want to do with these is to pull off all the leaves. Now that we have all the leaves off of our branch, we're going to take a bucket of hot water and we're going to dip the branch in thoroughly, just to make sure there are no creepy crawlies or anything that we do not want in our house. Now that your branch is all washed, you are going to let it dry. As you can see, I have a couple different types of branches from different bushes. I think together they make a nice variety. And I have my 2 paintbrushes. Now I'm using acrylic paint and I'm painting it on. You could also spray paint these branches, but I think that it wastes a lot of paint and then it makes a big mess, so I really prefer to hand paint them because it saves paint and I think it's kind of relaxing. I painted all these branches. It only took me maybe 15 or 20 minutes, so it's really not time consuming to do it by hand. This is also a good time to trim off any bits of the branches that you know you don't want that are too tall. You can also trim it up later after you've already put the glitter on if you need to, but I like to trim it up in the beginning as much as I can, just so I don't waste any paint or glitter. Now we're just going to paint the branch. And keep going until all of your branches are completely covered. And then set them aside and let them dry. Now that your branches are completely dry, you're going to take a little dish with some water in it, probably about a tablespoon of water, and you want to add equal parts of school glue. So you're doing a 1-to-1 ratio water plus glue. Give it a stir, make sure it's mixed really well, and before you start working with it, you want to put a piece of white construction paper onto your work surface so that it can catch any excess glitter that might fall off the branches so you can reuse it later on. And then just start painting the mixture onto the branch, and then lightly sprinkle on your glitter. You can use as much or as little glitter as you want here. It's your project, you decide how it's gonna look. For this one I used a mixture of silver holographic glitter and black. There's all that excess glitter on the paper, so we can just scoop it up and pour it back in our container and save it for later. Now this last step is completely optional, but I like to take the glue gun and add little blobs of glue to the ends of the stick. I kind of feel like it looks like little dewdrops, and I even added some glitter to some of them. I kind of made it drip and twist down the branch. You can also drop a little blob of glue on one branch and then kind of take the glue string and kind of wrap it around the other branch. It gives it a little effect of spider webs. It was hard to pick up on camera, but in person it just added that extra bit of detail to the branches. Now we're going to move on to our spooky jar project. So you're going to want to take any glass jar. You can use a pickle jar like I have here on the left. I also have a cranberry juice jar, but really you could use any jar. You could use a pizza jar, you could use a mayonnaise jar, pretty much anything you want. But for this particular project, I'm going to be choosing the pickle jar because I like the nice wide mouth so I can get lots of my branches in there easily. So the first thing you want to do is to take a little bit of paint of your choice. I wanted to have a little bit of a purple hue to it, so I have a little bit of purple paint. And you're just going to pour a little bit of it into the bottom of the jar. There's no real measurement here. And then I'm going to add some school glue to that mixture, a little bit of black, and a little bit of water that I poured in there. Now you're going to turn the jar on its side and carefully turn it to coat the sides of the jar with the mixture. Now it's not going to be a thick coating. I just want it to be a little foggy because later on we're going to put lights in the jar and I want it to have more of a hazy effect. After I rolled it around the first time, I thought that I wanted it a little bit darker, so I added a little more black and rolled it again to kind of give it a deeper gray look. And you can just set it and let it dry. If you want it to dry quicker, you can pour out the excess, but I just let it dry for 30 minutes and the bottom dried up just fine. The reason we did the inside of the jar instead of painting the outside of the jar is because I didn't want to ruin the natural shine of the glass. So by doing it on the inside, you get the haziness without taking away any of the shine. Next, I'm going to be taking a creepy cloth that I just got at the Dollar Tree. It comes in lots of different colors. You can get it in beige, white, blood-stained, or this gray. So I got this really dark gray. You're just going to take some of the cloth and you're going to drape it over the jar, kind of play with it, see where you like it to hang, how long you want it to be. I had it doubled over and then I tried it with just one layer and I realized I really like the double layer. So I went back to that and then I'm just going to cut a square on top of the jar. And this cloth is really easy to stretch and mold. So I just went ahead and used my fingers and pulled a little hole in the center and then stretched it over the top of the jar. So there was no need to cut it or mess up the fabric at all. You can also pull at the little ends of it and fray it out any way you want it. Next, I want something around the top of the jar. So I have this nautical rope that I got from the Dollar Tree. You could also use twine in a pinch if that's all you have. But I really like the thickness of the nautical rope and how it had that frayed, old, worn out look. So I'm going to unwrap it because I want it to be thinner than that and only use one of the strands. Wrap it around the jar, decide how long I want it, give it a cut. And then we're just going to tie a simple little knot around the jar. And then I'm undoing the little ends to make them a little more frayed and give it that more vintage, worn out look. Now I'm going to take my hot glue gun again and I'm going to add some dribbles of glue all around the top of the jar and then sprinkle it with glitter. I'm just using solid black glitter for this part. I liked how it gave the effect of like something mysterious oozing out of the jar. What that could be, I don't know. Now the last step we're going to do to complete our jar is we're going to add these LED lights that I just got, again, at the Dollar Tree. They're only $1. They're battery operated. You can put them in your little jar, and they add a really cool glowing effect. Now you can just arrange your branches any way you want. Be playful with it, get creative. It can look any way you want it to look. There is no right or wrong way here. This is the finished product. I really liked how the glitter caught the light, and the creepy cloth adds that nice kind of worn out feel, almost like it'd be in like an old witch's house or something. Now at night is when it really gets beautiful. After it got darker, all the glitter just kind of shone in the soft light of the house, and the jar just like came to life. It is absolutely stunning at night. So that's it. Those were our projects for today. That was our glittery branches in our spooky jar and our creepy caramel apples. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because for the next 30 days, we're going to be doing a craft or cooking, or a craft and cooking every single day for the next 30 days until Halloween. And also, you can check out our teaser video linked above if you want to get a sneak peek of all the projects that we're going to be doing for this month of October. You can also check out our Facebook and our Instagram in the description below if you want to see extra content. So thanks for watching. Keep it sunny. God loves you. Happy Halloween.
Keep it creepy.